Peace family, Vie Darling, the Cosmic Queen Intergalactic Interpreter, and I want to find out what is going on with Kanye West. What is going on with him? I got the Six of Swords, which is saying that, like, I do feel like he has been in a process of, like, really expunging a lot of karma. Get the Ace of Swords. He's been in a process of expunging a lot of karma. I do think that this is probably his first time on Earth. I don't think that he has ever been to Earth before as this form of consciousness, and I think that it has been really challenging for him. And I do want to give a disclaimer that I don't think that anything that I'm saying in this reading is excusing the things that he has said and the things that he has done, which, you know, they are forgivable, but they are inexcusable. So I think that he is just really lost in the sauce. And this is something that I channel about him a lot. I channel him a lot, or like I channel his guides a lot. And I get spiritual messages about him all the time. I feel like he is really possessed of an entity, like, that is just draining his power, his spiritual power. And I do feel like it's succubus energy. I feel like his sacral chakra, like, is so polarized. Like, it's overly creative and then, like, overly, like, under creative. And that is how one is controlled, because if you're not in balance, that space between the 0 point, the singularity, that space that can be like cognitive dissonance, that can be like a blind spot for a lot of us, like, that is what is exploited and weaponized and used against us. So that's definitely what I see going on with him. I think that it's very clear from the kind of people he surrounds himself with and marries that he finds himself being preyed upon by lecherous people. And when I think that he has said that he feels like he has autism, and I think that's very obvious, now he's doubling back and saying that he doesn't have bipolar disorder. I don't know. I can't go ahead and diagnose him, but, like, I do feel like he is very much unbalanced, and I think that a lot of it has to do with, like, shadow work stuff. I have channeled for a long time that he was the victim of CSA, and I just want to say that, like, you know, a lot of people who have been victimized in that way, even if he doesn't remember it, which is possible, he may have blocked it out. I also feel like he is an alcoholic, and we know that he abuses substances and drinks. He talks about it in his songs. And I think that, like, if people actually listen to the lyrics of his songs a little bit more deeply, it would be a lot clearer, like, what his problems are, because they're very obvious and they're very clear, to me at least. And so I do, as a psychic medium, I've had gifts my entire life. As I said, I've been channeling and 333 on the timer. I've been channeling and all of this stuff my entire life, and I started this practice, like, of serving others in 2018. So a lifetime of spiritual knowledge and wisdom. I do trust my intuition on these things, and I think that he has been running away from SA that he experienced his whole life. I think that that's a big reason why he has all of this pomposity and bravado. I think that this is a big reason why he essentially, like, self-harms so much. And I also think that it is a big part of why he is very, like, very controlling of women. And yeah, I think that he's really not in touch with his femininity at all. And this is a problem for a lot of men, and cis men in general. And honestly, it's a problem for everybody on the planet. Like, until you do the shadow work, like, you will be out of balance, and that will manifest itself in hatred. You know what I mean? Just like it says in the Bible, we can't serve two masters. Either we will hate one and cling to the other, or we will love one. And I think it says, like, hate or neglect the other or whatever, but I feel like he is definitely like, he falls into that category of like either hating one and loving the other, and he's trying so hard to have it both ways, but you really cannot have it both ways. And I think that that's a big part of why he has gotten thrown off of his mission. I do believe that he truly believes, like, he wants to be a Christian so badly, but I also think that like there are things, like, I feel like a lot of that has to do with, like, there are things that he's not willing to accept, and he's not actually willing to trust in a higher power to heal him from the shadow that he is harboring. And it is a little Kanye. Like, I'm seeing the image of little Kanye in my mind. That's what it is. That's who it is. It's him as a child. And I really just feel like he has so much shadow that he doesn't know what to do with, because he's so scared, he's so indoctrinated that he just like causes like reckless harm. And this is something like he really needs to heal and change, and that is what has brought him to the point that he is at today. He has been abused psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually. He has experienced all of that stuff. His heart is broken. To have such a big heart and to have it broken, and like it's as if his heart chakra was like punched up, and like that may have been like part of what happened to him. And that is where like these succubus entities are able to come in and just like roost and drain him of his life force. And I think that he's just really sick is what I'm getting from that aspect. I don't think that any of this excuses like his behavior or the things that he's done or said. I do think that it is forgivable, because everything is forgivable in the eyes of the Most High Divine Creator. But do I think that it's excusable? No, it shouldn't be excused. It should be atoned for. And I just need to put that out there before we even go any further, because the things that he has said are extremely powerful and inappropriate. And we don't tolerate hate in the Aetherium. So yeah, we get the Death card. I like how there are two heads on here specifically for this reading. I mean, he is a Gemini after all, but I think that this is like speaking to a primal force and like a human self. And I do feel like it's about those two things coming together. And in order for that to happen, that's like, that necessitates ego death. Please excuse all of this stuff over here. Like, I'm in the midst of like reorganizing some stuff, and you should go check out my Depop and buy my stuff. But anyway, this is speaking to him needing to get to a point of singularity. I think I did mention the singularity in the last video. I do feel like this is his first time on Earth, his first time in this spirit, like in this realm. His spirit has been here before, but he has not incarnated. I don't feel like he's incarnated, at least not in a really long time. Maybe a Lemurian starseed. Definitely a crystal child. Crystallines, that's like where all that, yeah. My guides are like, don't say that part. Like, he's a crystalline for sure. And right now what's happening to him is like, he is being offered the opportunity to heal. And I don't think that he's taking it. I think he's too afraid to face his shadow to actually like, you know, what I've said in previous readings is like, sometimes what we do is like, we will like the healing, the waters. It's like, I want this energy in my life. I want this life. I want this atmosphere. I want this vibe. And then like we get there and it's like as if it's a pool, right? And like we're sitting on the pool and we're like holding ourselves out of getting into the water as if the water's too cold. Because it's scary. It's like, oh, there's a monster in the water. And baby, there's a shark in the water. Do y'all remember that song? Something underneath my bed. I think it's dead. Baby, there's a shark in the water. Something better be too soon. I don't remember what her name was, but yeah, so there's like a shark in the water. Like, he is just, yeah, he's so afraid to face his shadow. And I understand that. We get the Fool. Like, ultimately, do I feel like he's going to make it out of this? Like, that's going to be in the next part of the reading. But with the Fool, I think that he is at the 0 point. He has an opportunity for a new beginning. I just saw 3, 4, 5 on the timer. I think that eventually he will, but I do feel like the karma that, like, when we incarnate on Earth, we take on the karma of the bloodline that we incarnate into, the society that we are indoctrinated into, and the planet as a whole. So honestly, I would say, like, one reader that I follow, she says, pray for God, Knave of Wands and Ace of Wands. I would honestly recommend, like, if you feel like this is a person who is so objectionable, I genuinely feel like you should pray for him. My sister used to be like, I don't know what's wrong with him. I'm praying for him. He needs help. 10 of Pentacles, 5 of Wands, Ace of Wands in the reverse, and the Magician in reverse. Yeah, I do feel like he's not going to be able to, like, nothing is working out for him because he is enmeshed he's enmeshed. You know, that's why nothing is really working out for him. And why did this stop? I think that says a lot. Like, he is purposefully being preyed upon by entities. And do note that, like, when we speak about entities, like, it's not just spiritual entities. Like, it could be a corporate entity. You know what I mean? So I think that it's just really important for us to bear that in mind, because I do think that there is a reason why he is unable to get right. And like I said about the succubus spirits, like, people just preying upon him. If you watch, like, the video of him in that all red outfit and he was going off most recently, I don't know if it was most recently, but it was around Art Basel, so it was like December, January. He is just around a bunch of, like, yes men. He's just around people who corroborate everything that he says. This, I feel like, whether or not folks agree, there was a power in his music, and you can see that his music got significantly darker and honestly sinister. His music got to be sinister over time, whereas it was so soulful before. And I do feel like if he's actually willing, and this is the thing about, like, energy and divination and stuff, this is just about the energy right now. Okay, he could choose to do something different. He could choose to, like, change his ways and shift up. But, like, I feel it's about his personal choice and his personal agency. If he decides that he's going to get right within and he's going to take that leap and do the shadow work and, like, actually face himself, like, and I do want to say, like, Spirit is coming through very powerfully. His family God is saying very powerfully. Yahweh is saying very powerfully. Like, y'all need to be praying for him. Every one of the high priestesses, every one of the high priests, Zoes, so specifically, because I do feel like there's, like, witchcraft on him. And I never got that before, so that's interesting. But, people, y'all need to be praying for him. If you love and care about him, then that's something that you can do. You don't have to, but there's going to be a period of time when he's just, like, not creating at all, and he's not putting things out. Like I said, with the 10 of Wands here, it's the 10 of Pentacles here, it's the F you pay me. He has he was roped into a lot of karmic debt that, like, I do feel, what is this though? The 5 of Wands in reverse. It's really about him being brave and, like, doing the shadow work. So if he is willing to do that, then he is capable of, like, coming back. Honestly, I feel like if he doesn't, it's going to be an actual, like, end of his life. Like, I do feel like if he doesn't, 808 on the timer. Yo. Like, if he doesn't actually, like, go within and do the healing, I do feel like it's actually going to be the end for him. Because I do feel like he's going to unalive himself. And I do also feel like he has too much to lose. And so he might start to feel like there's an imperative for him to actually go ahead and transform in a way that like completely shifts his like ego. I mean, he talks about it, Four of Cups. He talks about it like how he like is married to his ego. If he gets free, and what's standing out powerfully to me is the chrysalis here. If he gets free, if he's willing to do what it takes to free himself, Ace of Pentacles here and Ace of Cups in the reverse, then he will receive abundance and glory is what I'm hearing, and it will flow very freely. But he really needs to get into his sovereign power in order for that to happen. Make a disclaimer that nothing that I say in this video excuses his behavior. His behavior, the things that he said, is all forgivable in the eyes of the Most High Divine Creator, but it is not excusable. 22 on the clock. We all have to atone for when we cause harm and when we transgress. And until he does that, it's not excusable, because the things that he has done and said are inexcusable actually. But I do feel like there's a way for him to come back from that, but like he needs to be accountable to it and actually change. So this is the third and final part. Six of Wands, Seven of Cups in the reverse, Eight of Cups in the reverse, Two of Swords in the reverse, Six of Cups. Like I said in the previous parts of the reading, he is at a crossroads moment where he is being offered the opportunity to transcend, and that is going to require him to do a tremendous amount of spiritual labor. That's going to require him to do a tremendous amount of healing work, and it's just really a question of like, is he going to do it? You know what I mean? If he does choose to do it, then that's awesome. I do feel like if he does choose to do it, he can come back from this brink, like the jumping off point. One thing that came up and what comes up for me a lot is that he is 141 on the timer, 144 on the timer, is that he is an alcoholic and like an addict, and he like has substance abuse problems, and he is sick. Like, yeah, you go to the psych ward, you need to go to rehab, you need to go like get recovery. I really feel like he needs, also I'm hearing like spiritual rehab, because yeah, like I said in the previous video, there's definitely demonic works upon him. He is definitely like, and I've had visions of this before, 222 on the timer. I've seen this before where it's about keeping him out of alignment and keeping him out of his integrity. So they have like contractually married him to evil succubus entities to drain him of his power and of his light. That was a lot. That his drive came from proving that he was worthy, and I think that what caused him to be super vulnerable, and that made him vulnerable already, but what caused him to be more vulnerable was his mother's passing. And I do feel like that's when people were able to sink their claws into him. I do feel her presence here powerfully, and I'm seeing her. Oh my god. Wow. She's saying, pray for my baby. Pray for my baby. This is not who he is. He was never like this. He was a sweet boy, and maybe I should have listened when people, I should have been there for him. I shouldn't have let him fall prey. She does not like, yeah, she doesn't even want me to say her name, but she's like, she introduced him to substances that really got him sick. I am picking up something about Coca-Cola, you know, Pablo Escobar, And I'm also picking up that even before that, like, he is a misogynist. I'm picking up something about Amber Rose. Oh, that stuff that happened with Amber Rose, I think her brother, Amber Rose and him did a lot of Coca-Cola together after my death, and that is a big part of why he was able to fall prey. He was really never like this before. He was really a sweet boy. Yeah, he definitely she doesn't like the idea that he is autistic. She says that, like, that's the kind of thing that they say about little black children. If you were from Chicago, you would understand. They were always trying to tell us that something was wrong with our children. Oh my God, she has such an angelic energy. Oh my God. And like, yes. She really wants us to pray for him. She's saying, like, all of the sacred, she knows that God works in mysterious ways, but we can be tools of God if we are willing to put our fear aside. And that is what my son did. He put his fear aside. So I'm asking you, okay. She's saying that, like, yeah, you need to heal him. You need to heal him. You need to heal him. So if you're an energy worker, like, if you would be willing to do that kind of work on him, I'm saying, though, like, she's being very cautious about that because she understands, like, doing that could bring a lot of, like, backlash from the people that hurt him and that, like, they bound him, and that is something that I've seen in the ethers. Yeah, they've bound him in his bones to exploit him. You know something, and the things that they're saying about him being obsessed with a certain fascist dictator, she is saying, it's just really funny how that's what they're saying now, but why didn't anyone say anything about this before? Why was that never in the blind items before? Why is it that now everybody is saying that? And how is it that he would have gotten away how would he have gotten away with saying these kinds of things? And, like, everyone's saying, oh, it was an open secret, but why was it that nobody knew this before? Like, you would have seen something like that in the blind items before. You know what I mean? Let's go to part 4, because this went in a different direction than I was expecting it to. Peace, family. Vie Darling, the Cosmic Queen Intergalactic Interpreter, and I'm doing a reading with the Tarot del Fuego to find out confirmation, what is going on with Kanye West. And like I said, the things that he has done and is doing are forgivable but not excusable. We should not excuse hate speech. We should not excuse any sort of violence. Sweet. We should not excuse any sort of violence. He has to atone for that, but it is forgivable. The Most High Divine Creator forgives all our transgressions. And so that's something that I want to say, and I really truly feel that way, and I believe that as well. but he has to want it, and he has to do the work. And that's the thing that I got with like the death card, is that he has been so afraid of doing the healing. Like, and I channeled his mom in the last video. His mom came through and I channeled her, but the things that he experienced that turned him into 111 on the timer, the things that he experienced that turned him into the person that he became, like, y'all might even say that he flopped if he like stops making music and just goes off and lives a quiet life. But that's not gonna be true. Like, he's not gonna be a flop if he does that. He would be freeing himself. 131 on the timer if he did that, okay? Because he doesn't need to be in the making records and being in the public eye and all of this stuff in order for him to be like God's favorite. God's favorite is what I'm hearing. I get the sense that he senses that I'm in his field. God's favorite, most underrated and overpaid. Oh, what is that song? That's from Watch the Throne, right? Went from the favorite to the most hated. 212 on the timer. And I got 211 on the timer. Yeah, so something with Rock Nation. I'm gonna have to do a deep dive. I'm gonna have to do a deep dive about this reading. But something about Rock Nation and him signing to it, and like him and his mom didn't really believe, because they are Christians. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't believe that like there would 234 was on the timer. They wouldn't believe that like any of those kinds of rumors about like, you know, blasphemous cults and stuff like that. So they didn't think that that was real, and they looked at the contracts, and the contracts all seemed fine, but they didn't know what they were supposed to be looking for. 303 on the timer. And so, you know, he got hemmed up is what I'm hearing. He got hemmed up. And I keep hearing I spit the gospel, hostile, Tony doing times for what he did to nostrils. I'm still under the watchful eye of the law. When Kilo came, I gave you Bobby Brown jaw. That's, dirty white. You know this is fucking ridiculous. Huh? Ridiculous. You know this is. Yeah, so that's from, I mean, it first came out on Good Fridays, but it's from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And I do feel like him owning his darkness is what made that album so powerful. But because him owning his darkness is what made that album so powerful. But because finally he was reconciling with his shadow. What we saw him come out with in his early days was all about the light. But when you process through all of that energy, you get to the point of the darkness. And he went through that 0 point, that singularity, and like then now he's at the point of his shadow. He's at his point of his shadow, and he's doing battle with it. He's doing battle with it, but you can't do battle with it alone. You know what I mean? If you know anything about the healing journey, you know this is what it is. And this is an 8-year. And one of these 444. And one of these videos I got 808. 808s and heartbreaks, right? And that's the infinity sign. It's an 8-year right now. When that singularity point between the two parts, that is a portal. And when you go through that portal, it's like through the looking glass. Alice in Wonderland, 505 on the timer. So he was born, he gets to the apex, he makes it out alive, out of the shy. Then he comes back down, and he gets to that singularity point, and he goes into this dark night of the soul. But here's the problem, is that at the doldrums, at the pit, he doesn't have the right people around him to support him doing battle, spiritual warfare, because you need to understand 535 on the timer. When you are so good night, cruel world, in this white man's world, we the ones chosen. So good night, cruel world, I see you in the morning. Huh? I see you in the morning. This is way too much. I need a moment. No one man should have all that power. The clock's ticking at just the hours till that the world is ours. Yo. If you know, you know. But he didn't know the depths of what he knew before. And also, like, we're in a different epic. We're in a different era. We're in a different time. So, like, there's, you know, the collective consciousness of what he knew and what he was grappling with, especially as a Gen X, like, elder millennial. What he knew and what he was grappling with, that energy, you know, at the time, that's the thing that he's doing battle with. That's the thing that he's transmuting. That's the thing that he's healing past. And he did that. He did a lot of that work when he was at the pinnacle. But it's about it, like, and he liberated a lot of people. A lot of these people, his mom is here right now. A lot of these people who came after him, there would not be any Kid Cudi without Kanye. That's how you know it's her. Kanye. Not Kanye, Kanye. There would not be any Tyler, the Creator. There would not be any Travis Scott. You know what I mean? I say this all the time. There wouldn't be any of these people in the industry, Playboy Cardi, none of these would exist if it were not for the work that he did. But now you see him at the doldrums. Where are they? Who's praying for my son? Who's helping my son? Who's helping my baby boy? 727 on the timer. You know what I mean? And so if you feel like he's a part of your collective, because I know he's a part of my collective, Lion Tribe, you know what it is, gang gang, you know, I do feel like he's going to be fine. I do feel like he's going to be fine. I do feel like he's going to get free, but I also feel like he is alone in the pit. The Ten of Wands in reverse, the Two of Pentacles in reverse, and the Star in reverse. I feel like he's been alone in the pit. Seven of Swords in the reverse, and like, it's quiet for you is what I'm hearing. We get the Three of Pentacles. He needs the support of his soul family to get free, because you can't do healing on your own. We know that. That's a big thing that we talk about in Cosmic Wellness, because it's about decolonization of self and re-indigenizing of self. In my country, you know what? Like, my family, my dad's family and my mom's family, they all lived in the same town. And they were all there together. In my dialect, we don't have a separate word for cousin and sibling. We don't have a separate word for that. Or even like uncle and auntie versus like mom and dad. We don't have separate words for that, because it's a family affair. And when you go through the initiation of coming into your spiritual power, I started channeling his mother, and a lot of tea is being spilt right now. She is lovely. I love her. And you know, she loves me. I feel that. She has an angelic energy of like, it's gold and it's pink and it's like Andromedan, very Andromedan. And so this guy is part of the Andromedan collective. I want to say that. Definitely as Lyran starseed for sure. I do believe he also like incarnated on Mintaka. This is his first time on Earth, but the Most High Divine Creator will always forgive us. You know, that's the whole thing about healing. The process of healing, the journey of healing, 114 on the timer, is about forgiveness. But it is about like reconciliation, right? That we get the opportunity to heal, that we get the chance to heal, in and of itself says that everything, that there's an unconditionally loving higher power that is offering us, because we have free will choice. We are offered the opportunity to transcend the harms that we cause, the transgressions, the karma that we accumulate. We are offered that opportunity. But will we take it? That's up to us. And that's what I got for the second pile. And obviously, because it's the death card, right? In tarot, that's about transformation. That has to do with Pluto. It has to do with Saturn. It has to do with Kali Ma. 211 on the timer, 212 on the timer. And it's really about you know, I feel like what I pick up is so much of his problem is that he is 223 on the timer. So much of his problem is that, like, he is too alone and does not have the proper support to face his demons and transmute them. But I did get the Magician in the reverse. So that's where he's at. He's stuck. Because is he willing to take the opportunity, the unconditionally loving opportunity to heal and to atone? That's up to him, whether or not he does that. But I do also just want to point out with the star in reverse, the star in reverse on this card is a mermaid. It has to do with Aquarius, age of Aquarius. We're in Aquarius season when I'm recording this. Pluto just entered into Aquarius. Sidereally, I believe that Saturn is in Aquarius and has been for a while. But I say that all to say the water bear, we're exiting out of the age of Pisces. The healing that he has been able to transmute, pass on through him, you know, because of the block, he's been able to channel so much light in the beginning, but because there's so much accumulated shadow, that causes a blockage that has gone unhealed because he is sick. Like, he has really, really poor interrelational dynamics, really not in his sovereignty, being braggadocious, being egomaniacal, being egotistical. That's not the same as actually being in your power and being sovereign. That's like, and we get the Seven of Swords in the reverse position. I'm thinking of the Strength card as well. That is the shadow aspect of Leo energy. And if we're talking about, my hair's big as H today, that's me giving that Leo energy too, which makes sense because we're talking about Aquarius, right? That is the sister sign, the opposite, the dual energy, the polarity of the Leo Aquarius axis. And I do feel like even just doing this reading is healing. 440 on the timer and 444 on the timer. Not for nothing, 444 is one of Jigga's albums. And then he has the 4040 Club, which ever since I was a teenager and I heard about the 4040 Club, I've been to the 4040 Club as a teenager. That is his club. I always think about the Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club is featured in Marvel Comics, but when I was a teenager, also, I read an occult encyclopedia from back to front. I'm not into that type of magics. Like, I'm a shaman. I come from a long line of shamans and healers and deities and oracles, like, on both sides. So I'm in touch with my most high divine creator, let's put it that way. I don't do that demonic stuff, but the Hellfire Club was real. It is historically factual. Benjamin Franklin was a member of the original Hellfire Club. Everyone knew this, and anyone who knows anything about occultism knows this. And anyone who knows anything about Benjamin Franklin also knows this. He was a terrible person, like one of the worst people ever. But whenever I hear about the 4040 Club or think about the 4040 Club, I just think immediately about like Hellfire Club. So I need to name that. So I feel like that is something that really needs to like be brought to surface again. When you start falling in with people who are doing nefarious deeds, and I've been saying this a lot, like I know people personally who have been victimized by cults, by blasphemous cults. Okay, I know them personally. And it's not just one person. I know multiple people. Okay. This is something that has a lot to do with what's going on with Pluto, because Pluto has to do with cults and what's hidden and the occult. That also has to do with water, and we're exiting this Piscean age. It's not something that can really be conjectured. It really has to do with where we are in the cosmos in relation to the constellations. I'm gonna pause for a second. Oh, never mind, I guess. Someone called me. But confirmation. Oh, and also, like I said, I'm still under the watchful eye of the law. Them kilos came, they gave me Bobby Brown jaw. I spit the gospel, hostile. Tony doing times for what he did to nostrils. I've been channeling that song all week. It's, I'm so offended. I'm just so offended. It came out on Good Fridays first, but it's on my beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. The Watchers is coming up. If you know anything about Gnosticism, that's something, like, if you want to know more about what I'm talking about, I would recommend looking into Gnostic mythos. That is actually, like, I'm not going to get into it right now in this video because already it's gotten past, like, what I was intending it to. But, the Watchers is part of Abrahamic religion, and it's apocryphal aspects of the book, and it's stuff that was taken out by the Nicene councils and the ecumenical councils specifically took certain things out of the book for a reason. And I do feel like, as somebody, like, you have to be initiated into manhood and womanhood. You have to be initiated into adulthood in my culture. I'm Liberian, first generation American. If you don't get initiated into the societies, at least to the first rank, then you'll never technically be an adult. You have to. And this is true in a lot of, at least, West African cultures and tribal cultures and societies. So, not everybody is meant to know everything, but I do think that there's something to be said for the fact that, like, people are not allowed to be spiritual adults in the West, specifically in Christian countries. I find this is especially true for Christians. This is not as true for Muslims. I don't know how true it is for Jewish people, but when I identified as a witch, I would say a lot of my sister witches are Jewish. A lot of the people that I've shared in sacred sisterhood with are Jewish. A lot of people, because in my country, and this is all context for, like, why he is the way that he is. In my country, in our 30, like, we've always believed in magic. 3, 4, 5 on the timer. So this is about consciousness evolution, babes. We've always believed in magic because it's an everyday part of our lives. Everything that it's always been a part of my life. Even though I grew up Christian, there's always been magic. And this is true for almost anyone from a colonized third world country. Okay, if you know, you know. But also in our 30 years of civil war, there was so much ritual magic done. Like, it's a big deal, and that's why a lot of Christian Liberians are so afraid of even our traditional religion, because of how bad it was during those 30 years. And you'll see in other countries, my mentor, I'll call him my teacher. My teacher, Paul Van, go tithe to his, go follow him, especially if you're African. He's on Instagram and he's on YouTube. I mean, he's on TikTok and he's on YouTube. But my teacher, Paul Van, said, like, in Ghana, and I know this to be true, in Ghana, they are less taboo about our ancestral religion, but they have a very different history than my country. And also, my country was colonized by emancipated Black folks who came bringing their colonial mentality and Christian like puritanical Christianity. And I think that's also really important to name. But I say this all to say that, a lot of Christians choose to say, like, oh, that's not real, or if you don't believe in it, it's not going to affect you. And that's simply not true. 100% I know for a fact that's not true. I know people, I'm related to people who believe that. And I can see, because that's part of my gifts, like, that's part of my power, which I've had my entire life. I can see the codes of cursed energy on them. I can see the curse in their genetics and in their bloodline. Okay? And I can see it happening in our lives as a family. I see it happening and playing out. We hear about this, generational curses and stuff like that. I think that somebody like Kanye was especially easy to prey upon because I really highly doubt that he believed in any of the occult things that go on, which we know for a fact go on. We know it. Even if it weren't real, even if it had no actual effect in terms of energy and magic, the people who do it believe in it enough to do it. They believe in it enough to cause harm. They believe in it enough to literally sacrifice people. They do. We know that. So even if it doesn't work, if it's not effective, it doesn't matter. 0707 on the timer. It doesn't matter because the real world impact is that they are still doing those things. And if you didn't know, now you know. I know a lot of celebrities. I know a lot of famous people. Like, I don't need to get into why or how. So most of the famous people that I know are spiritual. Most of the famous people that I know are magical, practice some sort of spirituality. A lot of them practice Ifa or Afa, what y'all today like to say Yoruba. It's not just Yoruba people, or that's a tribe and a dialect. I'm not even going to get into it, but I saw 747 on the timer. 47 is very significant. If you think about, like, what's his name, from Pro Era, who unalived himself, capital Steez. 47 was a big number for him, right? It's a big number in spirituality as well. But even listening to the music of, like, most rappers are into, like, the occult, not necessarily unsacred occults and blasphemous occultism, but Azealia Banks, you don't even know, like, people like SZA are initiated at least into the first rank of the first stage of Afa. You know what I mean? So I just think that's really important to know, but I do feel like somebody who is extremely, extremely conservative and Christian, and y'all also have to understand most Black people are very conservative. It doesn't matter that a lot of Black people vote Democrat. A lot of them don't. But either way, in practice, a lot of Black folks are conservative AF. And y'all might not know that, especially if you don't actually know Black people. But Black people know that. So none of this comes as a surprise to me. And I do feel because he was raised the way that he was raised. And he was raised to, like, to be charming and polite, despite how braggadocious and obnoxious he can be. Getting straight into it, regardless of how braggadocious and obnoxious Kanye can be, it's because of how he was raised. And I'm sure that he did not believe 22 on the timer. I'm sure that he was raised to believe that none of magic isn't real. That stuff is not real. If you just pray and you believe in Jesus and this, that, and the third, like, God's got you. Don't even worry. No, 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 that's not true. I'm sorry to be the one to break it to some of y'all. That's not true. If somebody is doing unsacred magics to you, you need to cleanse. And a lot of these people who are very conservative Christians and stuff like that, they don't even believe in doing cleanses. They think that that is evil. You feel me? So they don't know anything about other religions. They don't know anything about, like, indigenous religions. So they think that the stuff that we do is evil. No, actually, in my indigenous religion, human sacrifice is, like, so taboo. Your ancestors, your family gods, like, which all are under one most high divine creator, will leave you. You do not do that. There is divine retribution for that kind of stuff. So that's stuff that they don't know because people are colonized and they're brainwashed and they're anti-indigenous, number one. And also anti-Black. Number 2, because it's okay for Native Americans and Indigenous Americans to be into their culture. It's even more okay for Indian people, or specifically Indian Hindu people. It's even okay, like that's okay. And people who practice Buddhism, and that's all okay. But if it comes down to Indigenous African religion, you're demonic, you're evil, this, that, and the third. That's the truth. That's my experience. And that none of that's true. So I do feel like he fell in with people that he did not realize were seriously demonic, evil people. And he wanted so badly fame. And that's the flashing lights for you, boo. Flashing lights. I don't know if I said this. I'm Vie Darling, Cosmic Queen and your Intergalactic Interpreter. I am a healer and oracle amongst many other things. That's a very small part of what I do. But you can book a session with me, or you can book or you can purchase a reading with me at the link in my bio. Not bio, right down there. And Vie Darling is offering a 25% off sale for Valentine's Day, if you're seeing this when I post it. So I think that all just combined with his childhood trauma, which I talked about in the first video, like, he's in a dark space around dark people. You have to think about, like, what Dave Chappelle said, right? Like, maybe the environment is sick. Maybe it's not so much that these people are sick. Maybe the environment they're in is sick. And I say that to say, and like I said, it's not excusable, the things that he has done or said. They disgust me. The way that he treats his so-called wife disgusts me. You feel me? Like, that's all disgusting to me. But I believe that you can never go so far that you can't come back. Recompensation is the word that's coming up for me. Like, if he atones, he atones. If change is truly made, that's what I believe. That's my integrity. But he has to do those things. Is he willing to do it? He doesn't have the support system around him that would be able to help him to do that kind of work. You feel me? Pray for God. I do really feel like it is important for people to pray for him if you want to do that. I feel like I also got a download the other day about pray for Justin Bieber. I was like, God, what? I don't even care about Justin Bieber at all. Like, honestly, I liked him in middle school, and then after a while I stopped liking him because he's problematic. But once again, like I said, sensitive, vulnerable people that creatives are, starseeds are as well, in a very sick environment that creates structures and spaces of abuse and exploitation and debauchery, that is going to be corrosive to one's spirit. Are you even capable of doing shadow work at that point after all the things that you've been through? And that's why I'm so grateful that yes, I've had a lot of career success, but I've never been famous. And I'm really grateful that didn't happen before I got sober and started really doing the shadow work in a new way. Started working with my therapist, really deep stuff. Because I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I would have been like Rihanna out here, and I would have been I truly believe I would not have made it out alive. So I'm really grateful because I know that my ancestors and angels and spirit guides, my creator, my family deities, they kept me safe and they protected me. And all the time I thought why isn't it happening for me the way I want it to happen? It's yo, you're published in print multiple times. You've written for major platforms. You've modeled for your favorite photographers, some of the biggest photographers in the world. You've done a lot, but maybe you don't need to do that just yet. And I think that I say this all to say, sharing my personal experience, I said, I know a lot of famous people who are like very much at the top of their field, and they're very, very sick. And to be in that environment and have so much unresolved trauma, it just exacerbates it and makes it worse. And that makes you more easily manipulated. And I think that like these are all, what we're seeing are all trauma responses. What we're seeing from him and from a lot of other people are all trauma responses. And I do feel like the only way that he's ever going to be, I do feel like there's a way that he can come back from this. And I mean in terms of healing and to make it right, the things that he's done and said. I do feel like it really starts within, though. Like, you got to understand, this is a sick person. To say the things and do the things that he said, like, you're really sick. Me personally, I'm not going to sit here and spend energy and time hating somebody who is deeply sick. I feel sorry for you. Like, I'm disgusted. But I don't think that you're not a human or any less human. But you got to get right with God. And you got to get right with that divine spark that's inside of you, that creative force. And it's the inner child. And it's the parts of him that he's not willing to tell the therapist. It's the parts of him that he's not willing to get sober. And that's why I'm talking about sobriety too. Because like I said in the first video, my man's is an alcoholic and a drug addict. And he talks about this in his music. And people just seem to like sublimate it. They don't hear that. He definitely, like, it's very clear. It's very obvious. You know what I mean? And just using substances, including psych meds, which he was addicted to not actually do the work to heal. Being as he is definitely addicted to substances, I think that Western medicine isn't going to be enough. And that's why it's not enough for most people. You know, when you go into certain spaces of recovery, it's not just about like getting sober. It's about a spiritual program of recovery. And it's like, you need a power greater than yourself to heal you. This guy, he believes in a power greater than himself, but it's colonizer Christianity. So ultimately, it's just the colonizer, which is not 1, 2, 3 on the timer. It's not greater than him. So if he's unwilling to, and this is why I really feel like if someone just took this guy off the grid and like he went into the bush, if he went into the bush and like a bunch of like indigenous shamans worked on him for a year. I've been saying this for a long time. Worked on him for a year. I swear to God, he would come out a person that you don't even recognize. I feel like the vision I'm seeing is him when he first came out with College Dropout. I feel like it would be even cleaner, squeaky. See, clean. I tell him clean, squeaky. I'm thinking now. I'm like channeling Nicki Minaj. Kiss my ass and my anus, 'cause it's finally famous. And I finally. What song is that? I don't remember, but a lot of it has to do with my beautiful dark twisted fantasy. Oh, so what I was saying is 2, 2, 3 on the timer is he is in a dark night of the soul, and it's really just unclear whether or not he's going to be able to do the work to transcend these demons and these shadows and himself, because his ego blocks out the sunlight of the spirit. His ego blocks him from really receiving the divine support and help that he needs. And I do think that a lot of this has to do with like when you are someone who is spiritually gifted, when you receive downloads, when you are a channeler, you get prophetic messages and that can make you braggadocious and like egomaniacal. And I feel like he's a narcissist. And I definitely feel like it's because he didn't get the proper attunement as a child. Yeah. And this is something that I'll notice when I'm picking up a lot of his energy, like in the astrals, in the ethers. Other readers, particularly black readers, will also be like, yo, Kanye 333 on the timer came to me in my dreams last night, And I feel like this is like, this kind of just is tea for my practice of cosmic wellness, which is a spiritual practice that I'm pioneering in my spiritual sanctuary, the Aetherium. It is built upon a foundation of shadow work that I call spiritual abolition, because it abolishes the restrictive structures of colonial ideation that we are indoctrinated into, and it re-indigenizes us so that we may reclaim our sovereignty from these exploitative, dispossessing, disempowering powers. Okay, and this is all that I'm saying. It's like, you know, if he had the proper training with, I saw 422 on the timer, if he had the proper training with his gifts, I have a teacher who teaches me about my indigenous ways. Okay, like in Afa, in all indigenous religions, you have to be initiated. And think about it for Christianity also. You have to be initiated. You get initiated at your confirmation, at your baptism, and then at your confirmation, you confirm those rites. Those are rituals. You confirm those rites in front of the congregation for yourself at the age of 12. I know I've been baptized 3 times. Oh, sorry. You get christened, and then you have baptisms and confirmations. But it also depends on like what, if you're not Catholic, if you're Protestant, it depends on like what type of Christian you are. Because a lot of Protestant Christians don't do confirmation, they'll just do a baptism. But I had both. I had a christening, I had a confirmation when I was 12, and I've been baptized 3 times. Those were initiation rites. What makes that any different from the initiation rites that indigenous people do in our religions? What makes it any more valid? You feel me? And it resonates for a lot of people, because what a lot of folks don't understand, or what a lot of folks don't realize, is that this is the crystalline kingdom, the Christendom, that's a marine kingdom. So I feel that my bro is a marine. Like I said, Mintak and Starseed, Andromedan in nature. And argue with your mama, don't argue with me. Like, I feel like if you want to be like, that's not real, that's crazy, that's stupid. Actually, that is a fundamental part of the Dogon tribe, which is a Sudanese tribe, which my ancestors are descended from. That is an integral part of their religion. So be anti-indigenous a little bit more, why don't you? Be a little bit more racist and anti-indigenous. Okay, thank you very much. I say this all to say, it's dangerous to have someone who is powerful, who has not been forged. They've not, like, the mind is a sword. That's what swords, it has to do with air. It has to do with the mental cognition, communication. This is just, that's what it is in mysticism and spirituality and symbolism. When you haven't had your sword, your weapon, whatever, forged through the fires, through the energies, and like formed, you learn that through experience. And if you don't have a master forger helping you to forge that, then it's a waste of potential. It's a waste of prima materia. It's dangerous to have people like that walking around, and it's dangerous to them, and it's dangerous for everyone who comes into contact with them, because they become prey. They become prey to insidious people who know more than them when they're naive and can be easily manipulated, which he was. And that's the unfortunate truth. And I feel like what he needs to go into the bush. When you go through spiritual awakenings in the bush, and I'll speak to my country, when you go through spiritual awakenings, you don't do it alone. You go into the bush, and the people take care of you. For me, as an AFAB, assigned female at birth, I would be initiated into the Sunday Society. And if I'm going through a spiritual awakening, I would go into the bush, and the women would take care of me while I go through it, and they would help me to process it. They don't have that here. They are instead indoctrinated into an insidious institution that is built upon slavery and child abuse and other forms of rape and genocide. That's the Holy Roman Empire, and we're still living in the dregs of it. Holy Roman Empire founded England. England founded America. I'm just saying, can you keep up? Can you keep up? He has to be accountable and atone for all of the things that he's done. And if he can do that, I think that he has the potential to really heal and go from being the star in reverse to being the star in the direct position. But like, he is stuck, and it's really about like, is he willing to surrender and go through the ego death? We have the death card here, but I want to also point out, and like I said, he's at the singularity point. He's at the jumping off point. Is he ready to surrender? Is he ready to walk courageously into the shadow and do the work that is necessary to liberate himself from the shadows and his demons and all of this stuff? I think that, you know, he has to be willing to do that. He has to be willing to say yes, 111 on the timer. He has to be willing to do that. And if he does do that, then he has the potential to come back better than he ever was before. I don't even, like, I grew up 123 on the timer. I grew up listening to him, and like, his performance at VH1 Storytellers literally saved my life. Like, I was experiencing a lot of unaliving ideation, and I did not think I was going to graduate high school. I did not think that I was going to make it to even 18 years old, 144 on the timer. So if you're part of gang, if you're part of this spiritual collective, you may like resonate with this. I didn't think that I was going to, because I was experiencing a really terrible, terrible life. Like, and I'm only now at the age of 29, I'm only now processing. I fought my I fought my ass off. I moved to New York the moment that I got the chance, 2 and 2 on the timer. I moved to New York when I was 17. I decided that I wasn't going back to my mom's house. 0220 on the timer, 222 on the timer. And because I had to drop out of school, and college dropout. I had to drop out of school, and I decided I wasn't going to go back to my mom's house because I wasn't willing to put up with the abuse. And I got my own apartment when I was 19. I was just like, I'll figure it out. Like, I don't need this. Okay. Like, it'll work itself out. And that is, but like, all of that to say, I wasn't expecting, like, I didn't know how I was going to make it out of that situation. And I used to listen to his live at VH1 Storytellers because they used to do that. This is during the Indie Sleaze era, the 10s. I graduated high school in 2012. I used to listen to VH1 Storytellers every day, and that is what got me through. And when I started listening to his music, that is what gave me the courage and the inspiration, really, to just push through. 0330 on the timer, 333 on the timer. And that must be said, if you're someone who has that kind of relationship, which a lot of us are, it's okay to, I was so heartbroken when he said what he said about like the Holocaust not being real. Like, I was devastated. I had a meltdown. I was crying because I was just like, how can you do this? You're supposed to be like my hero. Like, well, never meet your heroes, but also for a long time, he was the only person that I felt I was a fan of. And I stopped being a fan long before this, but that, like, to me was the final straw. And I was just like, I can't, you know what I mean? And my heart was broken because it was like, there's a lot of stuff that like people can say, oh, like, you know, he's sick, he's trying. I don't feel like any of the things that he's done are excusable. But I do feel like there is forgiveness to be had. I forgive him whether or not he atones, but he's going to have to deal with his karma one way or another. And with the 10 of Pentacles, Pied Piper is what I keep hearing, the Pied Piper. And with the 5 of Wands in reverse, I feel like he's going to deal with his karma. He's going to have to. It's not going to look the way that maybe we want it to. Maybe we want him to come back and like be sane and like whatever again. But also I want to say, like, listening to his lyrics, I believe that before he got super famous, I believe that he was going to the psych ward. And his mom made sure to cover it up for him and keep it a secret for him. I believe that his label made sure to find ways to keep it a secret. I believe that he has been very unwell for a long time. And I believe that it was caused by childhood abuse that he experienced, probably from one of his mom's boyfriends. If you don't know, he has a song. It's an apocryphal song. It's not from any of his albums. It's called My Mama's Boyfriends. And it's about how he hated his mom's boyfriends. And he did not want his 0550 on the timer. He did not want his mom's boyfriends around. First of all, he's codependent. He had a very bad relationship with his own father who abandoned him. Like, he has a problem with men and masculinity. And I believe that so much of and he's an alcoholic and a drug addict. And he says this. He has a short film that I believe he made, not with Joaquin Phoenix, but like, I don't remember who he made. Spike Jonze. He made a short film with Spike Jonze. And he's just like going up. He's at a party. He's going up to all these celebrities. And he's wasted. And he's being wild. And like, he's just off his gourd. You know what I mean? That's like, I don't see how y'all cannot see these things. Maybe it's because like I'm sober. Like, and I never say it this way, but like, I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict in recovery. I started using when I was 15, and it was for these same exact reasons. Luckily, I have a very powerful connection to my ancestors, and like, I have been trained in my spiritual practice when things were going crazy for me. Like, I went back to Africa. I went back to Liberia. And like, you know, I had a really strong connection and like community around me, holding me through that. Yes, they're really toxic and sick. But like, when it came down to it, anytime I've gone through things, like, I have somehow just ended up back around like the women of my family to give me that healing energy, to take care of me when I couldn't take care of myself. You know, and I know for a fact that when you're surrounded by sick people who are low vibrational, debauched, like, and who are succubi, just preying on your energy and preying on your light, there's no way that you're going to get better. There's no way that you're going to get better. So this is like, you know, I know for a fact that you can come back from being so sick, but I don't think that it's going to look like if he chooses to get better, if he chooses it, because it is a spiritual healing that he needs. It's not going to be in a psych ward. It's not going to be just in a therapist's office. It's not going to be just on Lexapro. This guy's been on Lexapro for a decade. You feel me? Like, he's been going to the psych ward. It hasn't helped. It has not helped. And this is part of the problem, is like, in this country, the mental health is so terrible for a lot of reasons. And that's part of it. I'm of the Jungian school of analysis. I have taken psychology and early childhood psychology. You know, like, I think that there's deep shadow work that has to be done, and it can't not be done in a vacuum, and it cannot be done alone. But if it does happen, I think that, like, even if he starts making art again, which I don't think that he should, I think that it would look like him just, like, not being in the public eye anymore, and just... It's like in the book Candide, what healing would look like for him and what he needs to do is go into the bush. Listen, Dave Chappelle, when he was like on the brink of insanity, and when he was being preyed upon and offered like deals that he was just like, I don't think I can fuck with this. 44 on the timer. What did he do? Where did he go? Dave Chappelle got his ass up. He said no to the contract. He got his ass up and he went to Africa. And what did he say about that experience? They took care of him there. People took care of him. Nobody was 101. This isn't an advertisement like, oh, everybody go to Africa, because I don't believe that. But like, go to your roots. 111 on the timer. Go to your roots and experience the loving, healing care of being outside of colonialism. If you're in capitalism, which is a vampiric exploitative system in and of itself, you can't deny that. How do you think you're supposed to heal? You're not going to, period. Dave Chappelle went to Africa. He lived there for a while. People took care of him, and nobody knew who the fuck he was anyway. So they didn't care. Nobody, if you're African, like your family's going to be like, oh, please send me money. Please send me money. You know what I mean? Hey, boss. Hey, chief. Even though they're older than you. Hey, boss man. And you can say no, have integrity and say no. But, yeah, it's not the same kind of experience, especially spiritually in that predacious way. They're 2 on 2. It's vampires out here, boo. It's a narcissism epidemic. No, it's a psychopathy epidemic. Why are there so many serial killers in America? I don't know. Let's ask that question. Why is there so many cults? The psychopathy, 234 on the timer. The psychopathy of of the institutions that buoy up the ideological framework and foundational ideologies from top to bottom is sick. It's exploitative. It's predacious. It's cannibalistic. So I really just feel like the thing that he's going to have to do, and the thing that a lot of people, maybe they need to do this to Rihanna too. I watched all the blind items for Rihanna yesterday, and it's like, bro, you need to get back to the sun. You need to get back to the soil. And you need to get this healing. You need to get your mind and your body right. 323. What I think he needs to do is go, and it's like Candide. I don't know if you've ever read Candide by Voltaire. It's my favorite book. I've read a lot of books in my life, obviously, but I always come back to Candide being my favorite book. Candide means optimism. As a Jupiterian, and also my family god is Jupiter. My family god is Jupiter, and in that way, like, I don't need to get more into it, but optimism is a part of Sagittarian energy. It's a part of Jupiter energy. And I say this to say, at the beginning of the fool's journey for Candide, he believes in the best possible reality. At the end of Candide by Voltaire, he believes in the best possible reality. And through his fool's journey, through his hero's journey, he and everyone around him, Pangloss, like everyone around him, they experience a war, and they not only lose everything, but they, including like the woman that he's in love with, loses her looks. She is quote unquote disemboweled. Like, all of the worst things happen to them. And over time, he goes through this philosophical transformation where, in the end, where he was constantly looking for like this best possible reality and kind of projecting his own awareness onto things. And when the women, at the end, they end up at a farm. They have a farm. It's small, it's chill, it's whatever. And the women are like dissatisfied because they're bored. They don't like peace. They want like fancy, like they want more excitement in their lives. But Candide's like, yo, like, we've had 1-0-1-1-0 on the timer and 1-1-1 on the timer. Candide's like, we've had a lot of excitement. I think, honestly, we've had enough excitement to last a lifetime, maybe 2. 1, 2, 3 on the timer. I would rather peace and serenity. And he says this in a way that he's just like, let's just focus on the farm, and let's just let's just take care of our farm one day at a time, basically. And he's no longer like this naive kid, 144 on the timer. He's just like satisfied with just sitting there and in serenity. And you have to go through that experience. That's the hero's journey. That's being forged. You know what I mean? And not for nothing, it's the Fool, and then we have death. We don't have here the world, which is indicative of moksha. We don't have that here. But it is what is possible if he chooses that path. I feel like if he chooses to go, if he chooses to like try to continue being famous and things like this, 0220-222, I don't think that's going to be good for him. I think that like if he just falls off completely and we just hear like, oh, what's he doing? He's just farming, or he's just living a quiet life. Like he just is taking care of his kids and his, like, you know, whatever, living his life with his money, his royalties, whatever. If we hear that, you know, a lot of people would be like, oh, he fell off. Look at what a failure he is. Da, 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 da. When it's actually like, no, like, that's a good life. Can that be enough for you? You were the biggest rock star in the fucking world, bro. I would honestly say second only to Michael Jackson. And you know what I mean? And who's Michael Jackson second to? Maybe Jesus. I mean, people in like the Amazon rainforest knew who Michael Jackson was. You feel me? I saw 3, 2, 1 on the timer. Like, who else is more famous? And don't say Taylor Swift, because no, she's not. And also, she's not widely loved. I think that most people in the Black community do not like her because, to me, I'm not going to editorialize about her, but she's not widely loved. Let's be for real about that. And also, I don't know any Africans who know her. And I don't know. And I've spent a lot of time in Europe as well. And none of my European friends care about her. So, yeah. I wouldn't say that she's even close to being on that level. It doesn't matter how much money she has. I'm talking about fame. And yes, billionaire status. Even Beyonce, you know, she's not on the same level as Kanye. Let's just be clear. Like, let's be real with ourselves, right? Nor was she as widely loved, because people across all walks of life, loved Kanye, and a lot of people do not like Beyonce. In fact, a lot of people hate her. So that all being said, I think it's a question of like, can that just be enough for you? Can like this soul-sucking entity within you, 441 on the timer, 444 on the timer, can this soul-sucking entity that is your ego, like, can it be enough for you? The thing that tells you that you're not good enough, which was probably the abuse he experienced, 454 on the timer, 456 on the timer, can all that you've done, all that you've amassed. I ran out of space on my phone, so let's just wrap up this reading on Kanye. The question is, can everything that you've amassed in the material, socially, can all of that be enough for you? Apparently not. Evidently it can't be. It's not going to fill that hole that exists inside of you. And also this sense that you're not living in your purpose, which is very clear from all of these humanitarian projects he tries to do. The fact that he could even be someone who, like, is saying, you know, the stuff about Black, like, slavery being a choice and things like that. Like, you're a very self-hating person, and nobody who has to have that much bravado and that much ego actually loves themselves. He said on a song, like, at the Grammys, I said I inspired me. He's like, somebody you asked me, do you ever think about anyone other than yourself? And I said, like, I don't know what I'd do without myself. So there's clearly this energy of like being hyper independent in a way and feeling completely alone, misunderstood. Like, he can't depend on anyone else. He has to do it all for him, and he has to prove himself. And I think that he definitely is of two minds. I can tell you that much. And it's very clear to me that there's a lot of like self-hatred there, and just confusion, and just like being mentally not sovereign. Let's just put it that way, not sovereign. And so what I think for this person really, really is, and what I think that what this person really, really needs is a spiritual solution, because nothing else is going to save him from the sickness that he's embodying. And being racist or anti-Semitic or any type of hater, Islamophobic, homophobic, transphobic, that's not a mental disease. You know what I mean? And it's not even necessarily a trauma response. Like, that's an ideology that you need to be deprogrammed from, because we're all indoctrinated into this ideology in some way or another. But he needs to be deprogrammed for sure. But the other aspects of his personality that makes him susceptible to being so, I want to say convoluted, but I don't think that that's the right word. Being so sick, let's just put it that way, is the alcoholism, it is the drug addiction, it is the unhealed CSA trauma, it is like, it's all of those things. You know what I mean? And it is required of him. What is requisite is what I wanted to say. What is requisite is that he really requires spiritual healing. And I've been saying this for years, like, if we could just, why doesn't somebody do some Reiki towards him? Like, you know what I mean? 333 on the timer. So that's just like my take on it. That's what I got from the cards. I really was not expecting this reading to go so long. I thought it was going to be like at most 15 minutes and then I was going to go. I've been reading for like an hour, 2 hours, I don't know. So I hope that this is helpful to anybody. Like I was saying, if you are someone who is a big, big fan of this person, if you loved him, if he meant so much to you, if he meant a lot to you, first of all, I want to say that, like, you don't need icons. Like, God is within you. You can find the inspiration within yourself to go on. Like, like they say, don't meet your heroes. Like, yes, he's inspirational. Mariah Carey is inspirational to me, Whitney Houston, but all of these people are humans. They're all just humans. Like, they're fallible. And so my ability to transcend is not contingent upon them. It's contingent upon what they represent to me. So stop iconizing people. Stop deifying people and putting them on a pedestal. You know what I mean? That's number one. Number two, you can be mad at him and be disgusted by his actions. That's fair and that's fine. And you can still be so ineffably grateful for what he provided you in your life. And you can also still be like, yo, he's an amazing musician. You know what I mean? You can also still say that. You can also pray for him. If it's really hurtful to you, like, you can pray for him because clearly he needs it. You know what I mean? Do whatever you got to do. But really, it's not about him. It's about you. Like, whatever you're feeling is about you, and it's your work to do so that it doesn't become burdensome to you. Me personally, I can't support somebody who does and says the things that he does and says. Especially, like, I recently saw a video of him at a concert with Travis Scott, and instead of like singing, he just stood there with the music playing, letting the people sing, and with a mask on. And I think that that's incredibly disrespectful. Maybe part of it is because he gets in trouble for his rants, 555. And maybe he's trying to make a statement. I don't know, but I don't care. Also, the way that he is with his wife, Bianca Censori, and especially having his daughter around, that kind of stuff. Like, it's just giving hot mess. I am disgusted. I am disgusted by all of that kind of stuff. But I understand sickness and disease. I understand depravity. I've been in the doldrums. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of my poems before I got sober, I used to talk a lot about feeling like I was dragging my body across the bottom of the ocean. The level of pressure that I felt, the darkness, you know, the loneliness. And I'm really blessed that I got out of that. Not everybody does. And I have that to say about that. I think that's where I'm going to leave it. If you want to book a session with me, very simple. It's on my website. My readings are very accessible. I record them and I send them to you. They are very reasonably priced. I offer sliding scale rates on sessions for Black people, Indigenous people, queer and trans people, as well as disabled people. Well, I offer sliding scale for everybody, but I offer discounts on for the people of those identities. And I love you all truly and deeply. This, I feel like, was really healing for me. I've just been like so spun, like what the heck is going on? And he's been in my field a lot lately. And I hope that maybe like somebody could have learned something that is helpful for them. I used to call myself the witch's witch. I don't identify as a witch anymore. But, you know, I think that there's a lot to be learned from the things that came through. If you are a practitioner, if you are a healer, if you identify as a starseed light worker, whatever, there's a lot to hold that can help you in your practice. And I hope that at the very least, if not that, then I hope that it was entertaining, because this was all for entertainment purposes only. I have to say that legally. Thank you so much for watching, and happy hunting.